Before heaters, insulated jackets, warm beds, and houses that keep the cold outside like a defeated enemy, winter was one of the greatest killers humans ever faced. Today, when the temperature drops, we close a window, turn up the heat, grab a blanket, maybe complain dramatically for 5 seconds, and survive. But for ancient humans, cold was not just uncomfortable. Cold was a predator. It did not roar, it did not chase, it simply waited. It entered through wet clothes, numb fingers, empty stomachs, and dying fires. It turned rivers into glass, forests into bone, and nights into long tests of endurance. For early humans, surviving winter meant solving a brutal problem. How do you stay alive when the world itself seems to be trying to freeze you? The first answer was fire. Fire was more than warmth. It was life captured in a glowing cage. A campfire could turn a freezing night into something survivable, but it was never automatic. Someone had to collect wood before darkness. Someone had to keep it dry. Someone had to protect the flame from wind and rain. If the fire died in the middle of a freezing night, the danger did not arrive loudly. It crept in quietly, first into toes, then fingers, then bones, then sleep. And that sleep could become deadly. So humans learned to guard fire almost like a sacred creature. They carried embers from place to place, buried coals under ash to keep them alive, and built hearths in caves, shelters, and camps. A glowing coal could mean the difference between morning and no morning at all. But fire alone was not enough, because cold attacks from every direction. Humans needed shelter. A cave was valuable because stone blocked wind and trapped some warmth, but caves were not always empty. Sometimes animals wanted them too. Bears, lions, hyenas, and other creatures understood shelter long before humans argued about rent. So when humans found a safe cave, it became precious. In places without caves, people built shelters from what the land offered. Branches, hides, bark, grass, snow, mud, bones, and stone. Some groups made huts with animal skins stretched over wooden frames. Others built windbreaks to stop icy air from cutting through camp. In Arctic regions, people learned to use snow itself as protection because packed snow can trap air and insulate surprisingly well. It sounds strange, but in a frozen world, even snow can become a wall against colder wind. Humans were not just hiding from winter. They were learning to turn winter's materials against it. Clothing changed everything. At some point, humans stopped relying only on skin and toughness and began wearing the bodies of animals they hunted. Fur, leather, sinew, and layered hides became survival technology. A fur cloak was not fashion, it was portable shelter. Scraped animal hides could be softened, shaped, sewn, and wrapped around the body. Needles made from bone allowed humans to stitch fitted clothing, which was a massive upgrade because loose skins let heat escape, but sewn clothing hugged the body and trapped warmth. Imagine the genius of that moment. Someone looked at a bone, sharpened it, made a tiny hole, threaded it with sinew, and quietly invented a tool that helped humans enter some of the coldest places on Earth. That is not a small thing. That is humanity telling winter, you are terrifying, but we are bringing tailoring. Food was another battlefield. In warm seasons, food might be gathered, hunted, picked, dug up, or caught. In winter, the menu could shrink brutally. Plants disappeared beneath snow. Animals migrated or became harder to find. Rivers froze. Hunting became dangerous because humans were weaker when hungry, and hunger made cold even more dangerous. The body burns energy to stay warm, so winter demanded more food at the exact moment food became harder to get. To survive, humans had to plan ahead. They dried meat, smoked fish, stored nuts, gathered roots, preserved berries, and cached food in pits, baskets, hides, or frozen ground. Some groups followed migrating animals. Others stayed near reliable resources like rivers, coastlines, or herds. Fat was especially valuable. Today, people often fear fat, but in the ancient cold, fat was treasure. Animal fat meant energy, warmth, survival, and fuel. A lean rabbit might fill the stomach, but fatty meat could keep a body alive. This is why big animals mattered so much. Mammoths, bison, reindeer, seals, whales, and other large animals could provide not only meat, but hides, bones, tendons, tools, oil, and shelter materials. One successful hunt could support a group through terrible weather. One failed season could become disaster. And because survival was so hard, humans became expert readers of the land. They watched animal tracks in snow. They noticed where wind carved drifts. They learned which clouds warned of storms, which valleys trapped freezing air, which trees offered dry wood under their branches, and which ice was safe to cross. A modern person sees snow and thinks, cold. An experienced ancient hunter saw a page full of messages. A fox passed here. Deer moved that way. The wind shifted last night. The ice near the reeds is thin. The storm is coming from the west. This knowledge was not written down. It lived in memory, stories, scars, and the careful teaching of children. A child who learned which plants stored edible roots, how to recognize frostbite, how to keep boots dry, or how to sleep close enough to share warmth without smothering the fire, was not just learning skills. They were inheriting a survival map. The human body also became part of the strategy. People slept close together to conserve heat. They placed children and vulnerable members near the warmest parts of the shelter. They used animal skins under their bodies because the ground steals heat fast. They lined sleeping areas with grass, leaves, moss, hides, or furs. They avoided sweating too much during travel because wet clothing in cold weather could become dangerous. They learned to cover the head, hands, and feet because these parts lose heat quickly and freeze easily. They learned that staying dry mattered almost as much as staying warm. Water was winter's secret blade. A soaked foot, a wet cloak, or damp bedding could turn a survivable night into a deadly one. So humans protected dry materials carefully. They stored tinder, wrapped tools, repaired clothing, and built fires in ways that reduced smoke but kept heat. Every small detail mattered. Winter punished laziness, but it also punished bad luck. Then there was movement. Sometimes the smartest way to survive winter was not to fight it directly, but to move with the seasons. Many human groups were mobile, following food and avoiding the worst conditions when possible. Migration was not wandering aimlessly. It was strategy across a landscape. People knew seasonal routes, safe camps, river crossings, hunting grounds, fruiting areas, caves, and sheltered valleys. They returned to useful places again and again, building a mental map far richer than anything drawn on paper. But movement carried risk too. Travel in winter meant exposure, injury, storms, and hunger. A broken ankle could doom a person. A sudden blizzard could erase landmarks. So groups had to decide, stay and endure or move and gamble. That decision required leadership, memory, and trust. Trust may have been one of the greatest winter tools humans ever had. No single person could do everything. Someone gathered fuel, someone repaired clothing, someone watched children, someone tracked animals, someone knew where roots grew beneath snow. Someone remembered the safe cave from years before. Someone stayed awake when the fire was low. A lone human in deep winter was fragile. A group was a furnace made of many minds. Cooperation turned weakness into strength. People shared food because tomorrow the lucky hunter might be someone else. They cared for children because children carried the future. They protected elders because elders carried knowledge. In a world without books, an elder who remembered a famine, a storm pattern, or a hidden valley could be more valuable than a spear. Winter made human society tighter because selfishness could freeze everyone. Even art and ritual may have helped. Around winter fires, humans told stories, made tools, repaired gear, sang, planned hunts, taught skills, and kept fear from swallowing the group. Long dark nights are heavy on the mind. Firelight gave people a center. Stories made the darkness less empty. Rituals may have helped groups stay united when hunger and cold created tension. The mind needed warmth too. A frightened, divided group made bad decisions. A connected group could endure. This is something we often forget. Survival is not only about calories and shelter. It is also about morale, meaning, and the belief that morning is worth reaching. And slowly, over thousands of years, humans pushed farther into cold lands. They reached Ice Age Europe, Siberia, the Arctic, high mountains, in frozen plains where survival seemed almost impossible. They did it without electric heat, without metal stoves, without supermarkets, without weather apps, and without modern medicine. They survived with bone needles, stone tools, animal hides, fire, memory, teamwork, and relentless creativity. Every warm coat today has an ancient ancestor. Every fireplace echoes the first guarded flames. Every house in winter is part of a long human argument with cold. And the strangest part is this: winter did not only threaten humans, it shaped us. It forced us to plan ahead, cooperate, invent, store food, improve clothing, build shelters, and think beyond the present moment. Summer rewards reaction, winter rewards preparation. The humans who survived were the ones who could imagine a future danger before it arrived. They gathered wood while the sun still shone. They stored food before hunger came. They repaired clothing before the storm. They taught children before mistakes became fatal. Winter made humans into planners. It sharpened patience. It turned survival into strategy. So the next time you step into a warm room while cold wind scratches at the windows, remember this: comfort is not simple. It is the result of thousands of generations refusing to let winter win. Our ancestors sat in caves, huts, tents, and snow shelters while the world outside froze solid. They fed fires through the night. They stitched hides by flickering light. They listened to storms shake the dark. They held their children close and waited for dawn. They did not defeat winter with one invention. They survived it through 1,000 clever answers, each one small, each one precious, each one carrying humanity forward. Winter was one of our oldest enemies, but it also became one of our greatest teachers. It taught us that warmth is not just heat. Warmth is planning. Warmth is shelter. Warmth is food saved for later. Warmth is a hand repairing a torn cloak. Warmth is a group sleeping close while someone guards the fire. Warmth is the human refusal to disappear when the world turns cold.